Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, there's the phone number, 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. Doesn't look like we have any of those. As always, please keep me abreast of any audio issues. I noticed on the YouTube video, the audio was kind of doubled up. So if that happens, if it sounds echoey, please tell me so I can fix it and make this experience a little less miserable for everybody. All right, let us start with Daniel from California.
Hey, Ryan. I was just listening to Packernet After Dark, and somebody asked what happened with 2011 and the defense and everything. There are three major factors you guys already brought up. Nick Collins. I didn't finish listening to it, but that was also the first, that was a lockout year, right, where they didn't really have an off season, and just at the very last moment of the off season, it opened up, and not a lot of practice for the defense, right? So going in, most defenses were bad that year. And you look at, for example, the Patriots, who has historically had a good defense, they were also really bad that year too. But that was the reason defenses didn't get that off-season time to build up their communication, work on their scheme, get all those reps in. Because our offense, they already had everybody on the same page. They already knew the offense. They all just rolled out into the season and did scorched earth. Along with that, because we were so far ahead in most games, I don't know if the offense or the defense was as bad.
Where'd you go? Come back to us, Daniel.
From behind,
there he is.
so they have to just get yardage against us and trying to catch up. And when you're down 2 scores every game, you're just going to give up a lot of yards. I don't know about the rushing defense. I'm not looking at the stats right now, but I'm pretty sure the passing defense was carrying that. And yeah, that's a big deal. And Nick Collins, too. I miss that guy. Hall of Fame safety if he doesn't get hurt. That guy was so good. But that's all I got. Go Pack, go.
Well, the only thing I would say, I mean, I get what you're saying in terms of, like, everybody plays worse, but at the same time, somebody has to be first, and second, and third, and fourth, and fifth. And for the Green Bay Packers, they already had, depending on what metric you're using, let's call it a top 5 defense, and they fell in 2011 to 19th and 32nd, which means, compared to the rest of the league, they massively plummeted. Here is the way PFF saw 2011. You mentioned New England defense struggled a little bit. It does look like, a historically great defense was kind of carried by its offense that year. But you had the 49ers, you had the Ravens, and again, maybe these grades are worse. Let me just look at 2010 here. No, I mean, this looks worse to me. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I understand how that could cause people to struggle, but the fact that everybody else passed us means that even if that's the excuse, then it was kind of a uniquely Packers excuse that everybody else seemed to sail past, and it wasn't as big of a deal.
Hey, Ryan, this is Andy, still stuck in Kansas.
What's up, Mike?
I want to call back and just make sure that it was clear what I was kind of explaining on one of my past phone calls about the possibility of trading Dobbs or Watson, because most likely we're not going to give contracts to both of them. I hope I made this clear in the last one, but just in case I didn't, I'm only talking about doing that if they win the Super Bowl. If they don't win the Super Bowl in the next, this year, I guess, then definitely don't trade them, because you're going to get then the 4th year on a cheap deal and probably keep one and let the other one walk. So I just want to make sure that idea of trading only occurred if they win, because if you win the Super Bowl, that's why you got them. Right? If you know you can't keep both of them and you go ahead and you win the championship, then yes, trade them because they're at their highest value. when you have two like that, and people call the Super Bowl the big dance, it's kind of the where you have a gal that you ask to the prom, but it's not somebody that you're going to stay with long term, I guess, so to speak.
Okay.
And then there's the other gal that is more of a
marriage material,
longer project,
Sure.
longer term, having a longer, relationship type of thing. I don't know if teams look at players like that or whatever, but
for wives.
Sometimes you go to the prom with somebody and it's a great time, it's a great dance, and then you don't really go with them anymore. So maybe it's that kind of situation with those two players. Secondly, with training camp, still a ways away. I'm wondering, when does Goody...
Let's hold off on that for 1 second. So, again, if we look at this, the yellow here signifies UFA in 2026, which means they are under contract this year and next year, and then are looking at free agency in 2026. Again, let's say they win the Super Bowl. I think, first of all, we can afford to pay these two wide receivers. And even if you win a Super Bowl, you say, well, that's when everybody gets the most money. What if Reed and Watson and Wicks and Musgrave and Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd are all considered, hypothetically, because we're all talking hypotheticals anyways, let's say these are all considered more valuable weapons than Romeo Doubs. We can't really pretend that he's going to come to the table saying, I want my $35 million contract, because it's like, nobody's paying you that, dog. You're wide receiver 4. Like, it's I'm sorry, but that's not going to be a thing. If, hypothetically, Romeo and Watson are number 1 and number 2, and they're like the Justin Jefferson elite type wide receivers, which is not going to happen. Again, you can maybe try to corner me in that, but if that's the case, if you have 2 Justin Jeffersons, they're not going to let them go. Right? You either give them both contracts a year early, so next year you just say, boom, here's your contracts. Or if you don't want them kind of running concurrently, take the most valuable asset, let's say it's Watson, you offer him the big money, and then you just hold off on Romeo. Or maybe Watson because of his injury issues, right? We'll pay Romeo, and then let's just see if he can get through next year, and then boom, we pay him, right? And we also have, Zach Tom. You got Devontae Wyatt. There's guys that are looking for contracts, but just because you're looking for a contract doesn't necessarily mean you're getting top of market, right? That's unless you're a quarterback, you can't really make that case. Zach Tom's probably looking for a really big contract. I don't really know of anybody else that's looking for a contract in the near future. Jordan Love, obviously. Dylan, I don't think will be on the team. Romeo, I don't think is getting a big contract. Myers is not. Tyler Davis, no. Royce Newman, no. Dillard, no. Kenny, they're talking about it now. We'll see. But I don't think... I think it's a percentage of the cap. I would guess his cap cap hit goes down if he gets another contract. TJ Slayton, no. Eric Wilson, no. McDuffie, no. Welch, no. None of these guys. Stokes is not getting top money, even if he balls out this year. He get a nice contract if he does, but and then if you look at the yellow, we'll see about Watson. I don't think Romeo. Samore, no. Rashid, no. Tenuta, Sean Ryan, Kingsley, Brenton Cox, Wyatt unless he goes nuts, Walker unless he goes nuts. There's a lot of guys. We like these guys. They're going to get some contracts. It's not going to be like everybody that gets a contract is going to snap our back in half, and so now we got to start trading guys. I can't envision any scenario where that's the case. I get what you're saying. If you can't pay everybody and you win the Super Bowl and their value is inflated, take advantage of that and trade them. I can't even draw up a fake hypothetical scenario in my mind where that is the thing that actually happens.
Really go into the true assessment stage for players. Now, technically, I'm sure he's assessing all the time. But I'm talking about, like, when it comes to training camp, how much is he, like, studying the roster as a whole and making decisions on the roster? Is he doing that on a daily basis? Fans will watch and you'll read articles and so on, and they'll be like, oh, this guy had a bad day. I don't know if he's going to make the roster. I don't think Goody actually thinks of it that way. like an investor, right? Somebody who's watching the stock market like every minute of every day, nervously with their finger on, on the button to sell as soon as that thing goes down, or buy as soon as, some other stock, falls and they want to scoop it up. I think Goody and the coaches let a lot of things play out. It's more of a, not so much how did this one player do today, but do they see the development thing? So I just think that when people hear comments from fans, oh, that guy's probably going to get cut because he had a bad day.
Yeah.
I really don't think that that's the way they assess players. I'd be very curious.
Let's see if there's a part 2. I have an answer, but let's let him finish here.
Sorry, Ryan. What's Goody's actual true time frame where he's like, okay, this is when I truly, definitely, have finished the implementation of like the part of the scouting where, if I scout this guy for this long, now I can really truly make a true decision about his spot on the roster. I just think that when training camp comes around in July and in August, and the fans are just poring over all of the details, I just think we need to realize that Goody makes his decisions in a whole different way than I think fans do. Not just knee-jerk reactions about stuff. I mean, that's certainly one of those things, but just, what's the date on the calendar where he's like, well, I'm really going to start making my decisions now. And I wouldn't be that surprised if it was way later than I think fans really notice it. Another thing is, saw a bunch of articles about, it was Anders Carlson.
Well, I would say in regard to, the last thing you're talking about, it seems to me that they work backwards, and it's less, like you said, less of a question of like buy and sell, and more of a question of when the stock drops to zero, then it's time to go. It's sort of a process of elimination. And when they get to the point where they look at it and go, there's zero chance they make the roster, it can't happen. There's no way, then it's time to move on. And that's part of the reason why I say when they switch a guy's position, he's days away from being cut. When that linebacker just gets moved to the safety position, with 4 weeks left until the season, till like week 1 kicks off, it's really just comes down to like this guy has no chance. And it's like, what about at safety or at linebacker, like with what happened last year? Okay, let's try it. And they really they give it a shot. They look at it and go, there's just no way. So right now they're keeping their, you're allowed 90 guys. I'm sure they're looking at some of these guys with 0.001%. They pretty much know, but we got the best 90 guys that are available in our mind on our board and everything else, and we'll see how it goes. And as guys come in, they maybe don't perform as well, and you're also keeping your eyes elsewhere, and it's a question of, okay, actually that guy maybe has a better shot of making it, so why don't we bring this person in and that person out? And then when you got to make cuts, you start at the bottom, and you just say, this guy's no chance. You look at Joel Wilson. I mean, is he going to make the roster? There's always a scenario where somebody, like Tyler Davis did, to be honest, or Ben Sims, where they just kind of pop off. And let's say, Davis is obviously in his final year. If they just have fallen out of love with Davis, and let's say Ben Sims, snaps, well, I shouldn't put any, let's just say he's out for the season for whatever reason, and Joel Wilson's tearing, I mean, maybe, and that's the thing, you keep an open mind. But when cut downs happen, there haven't been any injuries, these guys are the clear best. Okay, let's pick one of these guys and move on. And then let's, Magoo. Dude get moved to wide receiver. Like, come on, no, he's got to go. You start whittling through these guys, and I think that's when you start selling off. But you always kind of keep your board here. Then you've got your other board, which is the rest of the NFL or guys that are available, and watching who gets cut, and watching who's on the bottom of other guys' rosters, or even at the top, because there can be contractual things where it's like, oh, this guy actually performed well, you can go. And just decide, how do you put together the best possible team? But I think that's the biggest thing with a guy like Gutekunst is you have to be very organized, and you have to be ready to pounce at a moment's notice, and you can't blink. You can't hesitate. When that guy becomes available, make the call. When this guy isn't going to make it, make the cut. You just, There's very fast time frames. These things are moving, they're flying, it's very fluid. So you got to have a good staff that's really keeping an eye on everything, and we got everything organized and graded the way that we want it. And so when things become clear that there needs to be a change, whether that's a cut, picking somebody up, a trade, whatever, we have to move fast. We have to get it going. That would be my answer.
Gonna be the kicker. I think fans should want him to win that job.
Exactly, Capsaicin.
I think we really should want Carlson to be our kicker going forward. It reflects well on Carlson, obviously, but also reflects well on Goody, who drafted him, and Bisaccia and the special teams, coaches who are trying to develop him. So as much as we're like, oh, I can't believe he, missed that kick in the playoffs. By the way, Jay Moody for the Niners got a kick blocked in that same game.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe he missed an extra point in the Super Bowl, but I don't know if Niners are calling for Moody to get cut or whatever. I just think that we really should want Carlson to win that job so that we have a solid, pick that's going forward, and we can leave last year behind us finally. Anyway, bye.
I mean, he was drafted for a reason. I'm never going to root against players becoming great. It's unfortunate because we knew what we were getting into, and it's very, very... This is what the Packers always do, and it gets to be annoying, but it does pay off quite a bit, is they get projects. And it's like, but he's not that good. Like, there's better guys available. Why did you do that? It's like, well, if he can hit his ceiling, he's going to be better than all those other guys. It's like, yeah, but it's not going to happen year one, right? It's like, nope.
From Kaylee, Cullen Chores, Riley Chores.
Kids, do your chores. I think they just got dropped off, so they'll probably be barging in here any second. What the heck was I talking about? Anyways, I don't remember anymore. I should just unplug that again. How much time has it been? Let's take our first break. So, by the way, the reason I called this what did I call this thing? Megathon, just made up a word, is because I'm planning on doing back-to-back. So, hour and a half-ish, if you guys want to hang out, have some fun, cozy up, get a blankie and some chalky milk. We'll have a good time. But we'll take our first break. We'll be right back.
Hi, Ryan. It's Randy from Minnesota.
Hi.
Hey, two things. One I heard and one I just thought about after I listened to your pod on Aaron again, who's somehow living in our minds for free rent. Anyway,
he's a good house guest, though.
I was listening to a show, and the people on the show were saying that they were speculating that, especially at the beginning of the season, you're going to see a lot of blown calls on kickoffs, a lot of holding, blocking in the back, and their postulating is because referees will not know basically where to stand and what to look for. Yeah, I'm sure they're looking at film from the other leagues, what's going on, but there's going to be a learning curve involved, and it's going to be there might be a game or two that gets decided because the referees were, for one of the better words, were out of pocket when something happens and some guy ran off a big run or scored. And the other thing I thought about was, do you really think as long as Goots is still in Green Bay that, let's say Rodgers retires at some point, that he would actually agree to sign a one-day contract to retire as a Packer and go through that whole bring him back, retire a uniform type of thing? To me, he just holds grudges too hard, and I don't know if he could let things, go under the bridge, forget about it. I don't know. I just don't see it happening until Goots is gone. But I just want to know your thoughts on that. Anyway, enjoy how you struggle. You continue to put out product during the dead time. I really appreciate it. It makes my day go by quicker. And go Pack Go. Bye.
That is why we're doing back-to-back Packernet After Darks, by the way, because I'm sitting here and I'm just like, here's the topics, and I'm just looking at it going, it's not bad, but it's like this isn't going to fill a whole episode, and then what? You know, I can't elaborate on this. It's an interesting thought experiment, whatever. Maybe we have 2 segments. Maybe I just start shortening the episodes a little bit. I don't know. As far as the kickoff rule stuff, I would be more concerned about this stupid hip drop nonsense than about the kickoff, but it does sound like there is some potential concerns. I know there was some talk about a loophole that potentially could exist. I'm not going to go over that right now because it's new to me, but that may be something. Here we go. NFL kickoff rule loophole may need to be addressed. That'll be something I'll kind of dig into and maybe be content for when I actually do a podcast. So there you go. Thank you for bringing that up. It's another bonus of doing this as it gets me other content. Do I think Rodgers would be too bitter as long as Good is here? I don't think so. I mean, it's possible he may want to delay and just hope that Gutekunst goes away and he can shake some other guy's hand when he comes back. I don't think so. I mean, I think we all would agree he was very proud to be a Packer. I do think he loves and respects the organization. He loves and respects a lot of people within the organization. He obviously is proud to be a longtime Packer. He did a lot as a Packer. He won a Super Bowl as a Packer. I think despite, catching a little heat, I think he always loved the fandom that was here and supported him. I think there's a lot of love for Green Bay. I understand that there's also a lot of hate and bitterness toward Gutekunst and maybe Murphy and maybe LaFleur. I don't really know how far that spreads and to whom. But I don't know. Maybe there's like a year or 2 cool off and then he comes back and everything's fine. I don't really know how that'll work out. But I would be a little surprised if he took it that far as to let's just say continue to put it off until Gutekunst leaves and then decides to come back. I think that would be a tough pill for me to swallow. Again, a lot of the stuff he's doing has been annoying me as much as I defended him all the way through, 2021 or whatever, up until we got the news that he wanted to leave, wanted to be traded during, day 1 of the draft. And it's like, all right, you know what? If he does this, that'll be another like, come on, man. What the heck am I touching over here? It's a kid's toy. It's like my foot's touching something, and this whole time I'm talking, I'm like, what is that? It lifts up. It's got like a thing. It's sitting on. It's just some little fake computer that my daughter has. I don't know. This is how my brain works. Was there something else? I don't think so. We got a few more people in the house. Finally, the YouTubers showed up. I'm so happy that you guys did. Thanks for playing. As much as I love all my friends over on X, they don't talk. So they just sit there and stare at you. It's freaking Elon's got to do something about that. It's really aggravating the way it's set up. That apparently it's just not easy to type or something. I have no idea, but the YouTubers are starting to show up, so I appreciate that. Eric Sutherland, Prince Capsaicin in the house. They're all just saying hi to each other. They're just here to hang out with each other. All right, let's get back to Randy here.
All right, it's Randy from Minnesota.
What's up?
Hey, thanks a lot for finally scratching the surface on the land of 10,000 delusions over here. I keep saying, this is what I hear from Viking fans. That, they're on the verge of something. They're going to do it. They're fine. They're going to win. Cam Bynum even went on saying that he expects to be in the Super Bowl this year.
I covered that a little bit.
Because all the depth they have at key positions, but we won't talk about quarterback, obviously, but they've got depth and they've got leaders. And
again, when I went over that, they do not have depth. They have some talent at some key positions. They have basically no depth anywhere. Maybe safety. There's no depth. What depth? What are you talking about?
I'm like, oh my God, is this guy delusional?
No.
Anyway, I really want to thank you for digging into it. I mean, the more you scratch the surface on these purple Kool-Aid drinking people over here, this is what you get, and this is what we got to listen to. And also, I just read that Ed Policy, I believe it is, it was just named the next Packer president. I can't remember if this is the gentleman that you had talked about earlier that you thought was going to take over or not. If you got any more information, I just read a little blurb. I don't know obviously much about him, but I'd be interested to hear what he's all about. Anyway, go Pack Go. Thanks, Ryan. Bye.
Yeah, and we went over ed policy quite a bit. I don't know how much I really want to hammer that. I'm sure you called in before we did, but I think he's the right guy for the job. I think they've been planning on him being the guy for a very long time. I think when they hired him 12 years ago, there was some thought that this could be the eventual guy to take over at some point. They've been working him up to it ever since. So, you know, you've got a guy that comes from a family. His dad was a president of multiple different teams, Super Bowl winning organizations like the 49ers. You know, he's got all the degrees. Very, very talented guy. The Packers poached him. They worked him up the ladder. I think there was an attempt to poach him by somebody else, and it was kind of like one of those, like, listen, you're going to be the guy. Just hold out, okay? You're going to take that job. And so they throw another title on his, throw another thing on his title and give him a little pay raise or whatever. And yeah, here we are with the official announcement. I'm not worried about it, but you never really know until they get in there. Eric Sutherland says Minnesota is the skid mark of the North. The only thing I don't understand about Minnesota is how they try to act superior to Wisconsin. It's almost like people in the city of Minneapolis believe that Minnesota is Minneapolis and Wisconsin is some weird backwoods redneck area. And it's like, first of all, you're in a small, tiny portion. If Wisconsin and Minnesota are very similar. You got some cities, and then you've got a whole bunch of like backwoods redneck stuff. And I don't even mean that in a negative way, but it's just you can't pretend you're not the same state. You're further north, so the whole like Yooper like backwoods, like that's you, bro. That's you. You're that state. You are those people. We have a border with Chicago. Okay? You have a border with vast nothingness to the west and vast nothingness to the north. Cold and windy, blustery nonsense. And you got this tiny little city where you pretend that this is all of Minnesota and we're these civilized people and Wisconsin is some backwoods area. Like, what are you talking about? And it's just... it's like they're trying so hard to pretend that's like they're hanging out with like Chicago and New York, and they're like, yeah, Wisconsin, right, guys? Those freaking morons. Shut up, stupid. You are us. We're the same, except you're less interesting. People care a lot less about Minnesota than Wisconsin. Okay? Shut up. So stupid. Thomas Austin says, what makes this a marathon? I'm going to do 2. We're doing back-to-back, Packernet After Dark. So I'm hoping you guys can hang out with me and whatever. Sorry, Megathon. Yeah, get it right. Stupid. I've heard more banjos play in Minnesota than Wisconsin. I would believe that. Policy will be good, says United Bates. Been working and prepping for a long while and will always have Murphy in his back pocket for advice. That's a good call. Maybe. It's also possible that it's like, I am no longer here. This is not my job anymore, so I will not be doing that. I've had that happen before. Somebody, not the best thing in the world, major project, very in-depth, very serious. We're talking a hospital has invested tens of millions of dollars into a certain project, and the project comes down to an installation of a very highly technological thing, and we're already 70% of the way through it. And I just come along to be nice, and then all of a sudden it becomes my project, and she leaves, and I try to text, and I'm like, hey, where are these things? What do I... Nothing. Basically, the response, which was no response, was, I'm retired, don't ever talk to me. So that is a thing that can possibly happen. Same here in Michigan. Tom got nervous about a marathon. Brambo. It's not very nice. But we are mini apple, just like New York. All right. Favorite snow cone flavor? I don't even know. I really don't. The only thing I haven't had a lot of snow cones in my life, but I went to 7-Eleven and got a ton of slushies. I don't know what my favorite one would be. Didn't they have like a Mountain Dew one at some point? I don't know. It was a long time ago. We used to walk down to 7-Eleven and get like beef jerky and slushies and stuff. I get nervous about stairs. Me too, dog. My knees just not digging it anymore. All right. I don't know what we're talking about in the comment section anymore. Why don't we tell you what? Let's take our final break. This is the final break of the first episode. I'm going to get lost on where we are here pretty soon. Final break of the first episode. Let's take a break and we'll come back with the one and only Steve in Alaska.
Hello again, Ryan.
Hello.
Steve up in Alaska. I'm just sitting here getting my football Jones covered a little bit, watching some old football games. I'm watching the Washington Redskins, Green Bay Packers Monday night game from back in the 80s. I recommend if you haven't ever watched it, they have it on YouTube. You should sit down and watch it. It's a great watch. It's a great game. The commentators are awesome. They're weird and quirky. OJ's one of them. He does a great job. And Don Meredith is the other color commentator. He sounds a little bit like he's getting some insanity going on with him. He's just all over the place. But it's a whole different game, man. This is the game I grew up watching. And, yeah, there's some serious rough and tumble going on in this game. It's good. But calling because, off season. And, you'd come on, I don't know, probably about 3 or 4 shows ago now for me, talking about the Bears and how repetitively stupid they are, that they're doing the same things over and over again, and they don't even realize that they're doing it seemingly. It reminded me of a personal story when I was back in Kenosha, right around during the Super Bowl years, 96 Super Bowl season. I was there a year or two before it, and I was there a year or so after it. Meet people, and of course, you can run the Bears fan, and God, I would get so much harassment, and it wasn't me. I'd go places and people would start showing up, and here's the guy who's a Bears fan, and they'd come over and we'd start talking, and they'd come over, and then they'd want to start talking about the Bears and the Packers and football. And it's like, I don't want to do that. Because at the time, we were so much better than them. We're playing for championships. They're just kind of hanging out there. It'd already been 10 years since they'd won a championship. And they'd start, and I mean, what can you tell them? We're better than you. We got championships. We got these, we got Brett Favre. We got Mike Holmgren. What do you guys got? You got nothing. And they get mad, of course. And then at some point in time, people be coming up to me going, why are you harassing him? Why are you giving him such a hard time? It's like, what am I doing? I'm just speaking truth. We're better. And I've been able to do that for 30 years. And for 30 years, I'm harassing Bears fans. It makes no sense to me. So, it's just one of those things. Bears fans they're I don't know how to explain them. There's just something wrong with them. That's all I can say. There's something wrong with them. But, I don't know if you've gotten to it yet, but I'm wondering what you think about the Lawrence contract down in Jacksonville, because that kind of moves the needle a bit. If he's getting 55, we might.
He does have a part 2. Let's try to backtrack as best as I can. I definitely know what you're talking about. I did live in Kenosha for a while, also lived in Illinois, so I fully understand dealing with that nonsense. I don't think I've ever won an argument with a Bears fan because there's no winning. It's just they're toddlers. Like, ha ha, Packers suck. It's like, oh, dude, you haven't beaten the Packers in I remember at one point I was telling you it's been 10 games, which at this point we've blown past that. But so you haven't won in 10 games. What are you talking about? Yeah, Packers suck. Okay, freaking toddler. The Trevor Lawrence thing, again, kind of talked a lot about that at this point. I think it's a little overblown, and we have to understand where his contract actually ranks. And if you look at the percentage of the cap, he's 10th down the line. He's not number 1 with Joe Burrow. That's nonsense. That's if he would have gotten that contract last year, which he wouldn't have, because it would have been a similar percentage, which would have been a lot lower. But, does that move the needle for Love? I can't imagine a scenario where it does. Because I'm just trying to think, okay, so you're Jordan Love, and you negotiated a contract that's, let's say, close to but under $55 million. So he's already agreed to not go to the top where Joe Burrow is. I mean, top in terms of like just actual dollars, because I'm sure that does matter to some degree. The optics, not only to the fans, but for the team, the agent, the player, they all want the optics of having a lot of money, even if there's a lot of funny nonsense going on with the whatever. If Trevor Lawrence comes in and gets 55, what are we going to do? You're going to throw a fit and be like, hey, you got 55, I want 55. Like, we already agreed to not do 55. I don't really understand. I mean, I guess the only concern would be, is he worth more than Trevor Lawrence? But even still, I mean, the point is, Trevor Lawrence got the money that he deserved. I'm assuming that the Packers are trying to negotiate a contract with Jordan Love that he deserves. Regardless of what everybody else does, I'm not moving off that. You're worth this percentage. Well, that guy got this much. I don't give a damn. We have a different situation here. You are this good, but we're missing this much information. And so we've agreed to come to around this much, and we're just working out the little details here. If Dak or somebody comes along and they get $60 million, that may change things. I don't know that it does. Everybody acts like it just automatically has to change things. I don't have to change anything. The only thing is, would the agent then try to play hardball and be like, well, now we want more? Maybe they can, but I think Goot digs his heels in and just says no, and that's going to be sort of the end of that, because I didn't negotiate a deal based on what everybody else got. I negotiated a deal based on what he's worth, and we agreed on the worth. So I don't know. I don't think it's like this sort of random market where it's like we don't. I think that's the bigger thing. We act like we don't know where the market is. Like we're blind people. Like, okay, last year 55 was the top, and now we don't know how high it'll go. Like, yes, we do. Just look at the percentages. They're just straight lines. 20% is a straight line. If you pay somebody 20% in 1996, 20% in 2006, 20% in 2036, we know exactly where that is because it's going to be on this straight line. So we're just negotiating what percentage you're going to be at. Then the cap is the cap. If the cap's 50 million or 500 million, it doesn't frickin' matter. It's you are worth this percentage of the cap. That's what you're going to get. So again, the whole Trevor Lawrence thing isn't like, this is now we can see a little bit. Like there's a picture, it's a little blurry, but we can kind of see Trevor at 55, and that's kind of no, that's 21.26% or whatever. Okay, that makes sense for what Trevor is. Plus, he's got 2 years already, still on his contract, so you can spread it really over 7. So we can assess that and say it's kind of a BS contract. It's not worth anywhere near if we were to give Jordan 55 or whatever. But also, I don't care. I'm not negotiating for Trevor Lawrence. I'm negotiating for Jordan Love, and I think he's worth 22.36% of the cap or whatever, which is this much. And of course, we want a good, nice round number. So we give him 57 or what. I don't know. And maybe it's that infantile and childish as far as these negotiations where it's 95% optics. But I mean, this is like basic mathematics, and I don't know why Trevor Lawrence getting 55 would change anything. He's the 10th highest paid quarterback according to percentages. So I don't care, I guess, would be the short part of the story.
That got me. I wasn't paying attention. But like I was saying, with him getting 55 down at Jacksonville, we might be giving Jordan more than 55, and there's still that contract out there. And who knows what that's going to do to things. So I'm interested what you think about, the number that we're looking at now for quarterback. And I know it's just a number, and we'll find the money and it'll all be there. But it does affect things in the short term to some degree because the team has to maneuver things differently if they got to give out an extra $7-8 million over what they planned on giving out. Let us know what you think. Again, Bears fans suck. and watch some of these old Packer games because it's a fun thing, man. The horse collar rule doesn't exist. I saw 2 horse collars and there was no flags. There's that crappy push out rule where the defender pushes the offensive player out of bounds, and if he doesn't touch down completely inbounds, it's okay because he got pushed out of bounds. And there's a bunch of little quirky rules, man. So anyway, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
So I'm trying to pull this up real quick because I think you made kind of an important point here. I just want to real quick get us to where we need to be. This is taking a little while. Let's bring this back here. So if we look at active contracts right now, Trevor Lawrence, I was pretty close, 21.53. What did I say? I feel like I was like right on that. Trevor Lawrence got 21.53%, which comes out to $55 million, which again is 10th. Right? This is the equivalent of, I forget exactly what it was compared to this. It's this contract, if we paid the Joe Burrow contract this year, as I've said, is like $63 million. That's what the actual Joe Burrow contract is like. Here's the thing, though. They're not off by... So let's start with this. The difference between 55 and what would be like 64 is 3%, less than 3%. We're barely moving the needle here. I don't think we're going to be off by $7 million, like you said. First of all, $7 million isn't even that big of a deal. We're talking like $1 million a year, and a lot of that is going to be funny money. We're negotiating over like $1 million or $2 million. So like, let's say we haven't. There's no way the Packers are sitting at, let's say 52, and let's say Dak gets 56, and then they come in, they're like, we want 59 now. It's not going to happen. It's maybe like, okay, well, we were at 52. Let's just take them to 55, which is $3 million spread over 4 years, 5 years, however long it's going to be. And again, it's not a 100% guaranteed contract anyways. So I really don't think it makes that big of a deal overall. Obviously, you have to, I'm not saying just be flippant with the money. You have to pay people what they're worth. That's how you win, is about being fiscally responsible, being efficient with your money. Dollar per talent, if that was a metric, is how you stack your team with talent. So it's important that you get it right, but I just don't think it's going to make that big of a deal. The difference between $53 million and $56 million is negligible, and we're not going to notice it. And it seems massive, but again, if he comes in at... I wish I had my other... Do I have the other spreadsheet up here? I wish I had it. I don't know exactly where it is, but I compared to these contracts to what it would be in today's money. And let's see, who else got paid this year? I guess last year. I don't know. If he got $57 million or something, he'd still only be like here. It's really not, again, it's not that much money. I know that sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it's not the Joe Burrow contract. It's not Josh Allen. It's not Herbert. It's not Lamar. It's not Mahomes. It's not Hurts. It's not Kyler. And when I talked about it too, I was like, I feel like the contract should be somewhere in here. Less than what Mahomes got, more than what Trevor got. Is it Dak in 2021? Is it, I'm skipping Deshaun because that's a silly situation. Is it Kyler in 2022? Is it Jalen in 2023? I feel like this is kind of the range that we're looking at. So what we're looking at is 21.92 to 22.69. Multiply that out by the $255 million or whatever the salary cap is. I can't remember. And that's kind of the range you're talking about. And then it just comes down to how much is guaranteed. How much is, you got your guarantees at signing. You got your practical guarantees. You got, likely to be earned. You've got all kinds of nonsense and how it's structured, how it's laid out, how many years. But really that in total quantitative amounts, it's going to be this big of a gap, and from year to year, we're not going to notice a difference. There's not going to be a single player that doesn't get signed because he got 56 instead of 54. So I'm really not that concerned about it. It's just got to get done. Thomas, what's a hobby you wish you were interested in? I mean, if I wished I was interested in it, I'd probably be interested in it. I mean, wishing you were interested in it would mean there's some kind of an interest. I mean, I guess I kind of see what you're saying. I have a hard, like, for example, you could say cars. I couldn't care any less. But I don't really wish I was in, because that would mean I'd have to do it. Like, I had a brother, stepbrother, whose dad was a mechanic, so my stepbrother was very into cars, and I remember him dragging me into the garage to do some bull crap, and it's like, oh, this is so stupid. I want to go play Donkey Kong, and I'm in here freaking ripping apart an engine and changing a tire. Like, this is so dumb. Why are we doing this? But yeah, I mean, I guess it would have some benefits to it in terms of being able to maintain and stuff with my cars if I wanted to. But it's also going to be an expensive hobby, you know what I mean? I have no idea. Bears fans are relentlessly optimistic. That's true. Ever see Memento? The guy can't make new memories. Just like Bears fans. They're stuck in April 21st when Fields got drafted and all their problems were going to be fixed. Oh, I wish it was more of a delicious moment, the whole Fields thing, but it feels like it transitioned a little too smoothly for me. There was a little bumpiness where the Fields people refused to get off the train, but they were starting to get off in droves when it became obvious that he was not going to be the guy anymore. And then, there's obviously the excitement of Caleb, which made it was a nice little off-ramp for him, but it's such BS. Because it should have been more of a delicious moment, as much as they were just psychotic about Fields, and to watch it all come crashing down. I wish that could have been better. Tell you what, let's end part 1. We're going to end it here. This will be, Packernet After Dark for tonight or whatever for the podcast. And then stick around if you're here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Thomas Austin, I appreciate you commenting on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. That didn't go unnoticed, by the way. Completely random, and I appreciate that. But we'll end it here. If you're here, hang out, because we're about to do part 2. Thanks for hanging out. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to, well, I guess this isn't Packernet After Dark. It's the regular Packer show. But still, 608-501-0718 is the number to call, so please do that. Also, subscribe. They get a new tattoo whenever they get optimistic. All right. Thomas Austin, thank you. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. Jump in the Facebook group. All that good stuff. So you can comment and play along, etc., etc. 1265 fan. Talking about Thomas Austin appears. Interesting. Let's see how this goes.
The Thomas Austin Show. Starring 1265 fan. Hey everybody, welcome to the Thomas Austin Show. Since Thomas Austin is not going to call in to host his own show, I figured maybe I'd bring that back. Host it myself, 1265 fan.
Yep.
So jump on board, come on in, make some calls, ask Thomas Austin some questions. Because if Thomas Austin doesn't call in and answer, then I will. How about that? Welcome to the Thomas Austin Show. Okay, enough of the silliness. But anyway, that would be kind of funny, wouldn't it? If everybody had like a Thomas Austin show. It's
You're going to start a trend,
I remember
know
those
it.
days. They were kind of funny.
Yep.
I was just listening to Packernet After Dark, and you were talking about, by the way, love the question about you and Clayton having different opinions, because I caught the same thing. I didn't want to ask the question. I'm glad somebody else did. But I've always been that kind of fan that I am a team fan. Like, I'm a Packer fan. I'm not a player fan. Don't get me wrong. I love players, too. I mean, I pick a favorite rookie every year, right? Which, by the way, the Evan Williams, that's another good call. I'm also kind of leaning towards Marshawn Lloyd now lately. I don't know where that came from, but I'm kind of feeling him a little bit.
For sure.
So maybe it'll be him. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I do follow all the players, you guys. I do. I just kind of like to pick a rookie and follow him along, and I don't know. I've always done this. Blake Martinez was one of my rookies, right? It's just one of those things I do. This is the latest in the season, though, that I haven't picked one, so I don't know what the heck is up with me.
I don't know. You better get your crap together.
Anywho, Yeah, so that's really all I had to say. I'm already at 2 minutes, so I don't really have much else to say other than it's really storming here. And I just got out of the shower because it's morning. It's like 6:45, and I was showering during a thunderstorm right above me, which is kind of scary. But it's not like I can wait around for a storm to shower to go to work. So you got to do it, right? You got to do what you got to do. Anywho, I hope everybody has a grand day. 1265 out.
Is that a fear people have, showering during thunderstorms? Or is that something you're not supposed to do that I was not aware of? You're not supposed to, what is lightning going to come through your pipes and blast you right in the face? Right? You're just sitting there taking in all the warm water and then, what is it, like 100,000 volts or whatever lightning is, something ridiculous, blasts you in the face. Oh, yes. Good times. What are we talking about, though? There's so much going on in this call. There was one sort of substantive thing in there. Checking out the rookies and whatnot. You don't have one. Yeah, I like Marshawn Lloyd. I think it's kind of similar to Dylan, too, though, where it's like, I like Marshawn Lloyd, but I kind of know he's not going to be having a big enough role for him to be like that dude. It's not necessarily true. He could be really good in a limited role, but it just kind of makes you feel like probably shouldn't pick that one, is I guess where I'm at. Kind of leaning on Bullard a little bit, but just a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm struggling too. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm kind of on Bullard and Marshawn Lloyd. And again, I think the biggest problem is, we haven't had great reports about the first round rookie so far. Doesn't mean a ton, but it's hard to get excited about it. Then you got Bullard, and then it's, a bunch of guys that you're not sure are going to play or play very much. Like, who's going to get who's going to start, like, all the time? Monk? No. The other two safeties, I don't know if they're going to play at all, unless somebody goes into the slot, maybe Bullard or whatever, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of guys that I'm excited about, and I like them, but if you ask me which guy has the best shot of like having a big breakout rookie season, there's not a lot of options, I don't think. Prince Capsaicin says Tyron Hopper is the rookie I'm most interested in following in camp. Top 100 pick, need to see why. I can see that. The only thing I don't like about it is I feel like the Packers have a really bad track record, especially in the third round. Sometimes you see it second or whatever in that range, of really reaching on somebody. And I have the same thought where it's like, ooh, there must be something there. And usually that player is garbage. Just terrible. Like, it's just, you realize the Packers just made a horrible decision like everybody thought. But it is more fun to be like, oh, there must be something there. Although that's not necessarily the case. Who was the guy? He was a safety. We picked him in the second round. He's mostly known for like laying people out and stuff. There was Kevin King and then Josh Jones, was it? And Josh Jones, I think, was kind of similar, where it's like, oh, he's really talented. We just didn't think he'd go here. And I don't know. There's been other examples of like these really big reaches that it's like, well, there must be something. And it just doesn't super pan out. There's another linebacker. I think he was more of a fifth round guy, though, where it was like, what the heck are you doing? And he was just awful. I don't think he made it more than a year. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Hopper's got a little something going on. I don't know. I just don't necessarily think he's... I don't really think he's going to play, to be honest.
Hey, Ryan. This is Aaron.
Hi.
So, on Packernet After Dark, there's kind of been the tradition of in the off-season calling about movies, and then that's kind of been ramping up a little bit lately.
Mm-hmm. Let's do it.
And one thing I love is absolutely...
I'm gonna interrupt you for a second. So I messed this up. So I went ahead and I got hooked up by our resident movie expert. I'm not going to pull it up here, but he hooked me up with a ton of movies. And he's like, now you got no excuse. And I'm like, that's awesome. And then, you know how you guys always recommend stuff? And it's like, oh, that's on like HBO, that's on Cinemax, that's on whatever. I don't have any of those. I got HBO Max, which I don't know if that's Cinemax also, if it's like I have no idea. It's Max, so I assumed it was Cinemax, but it says HBO. I have no idea. So I got that, and I'm excited about it. And instead of watching movies, I started watching The Sopranos. So it's like I could have like crushed 20 movies And instead I've just been binge watching The Sopranos, which I don't necessarily feel guilty about because it's a phenomenal show. But I gotta get down on the movies. But tell me what to do here, Aaron. Where are we going with the movies?
Ridiculous movies. Like, I will never not recommend Velocipaster. That is one of my favorite films.
Velocipaster.
But anyways, so you played the clip, the Oh Hi Mark clip at the beginning of this episode. So I'm just curious, have you seen The Room?
Nope.
It is the epitome of just ridiculous.
I've seen so many clips of it that I've probably seen 35% of the movie, but I refuse to sit down and watch it because the whole thing behind The Room is that it's the worst movie ever made. It's the worst acting, the worst directing. It's nonsense. Oh, hi, Mark. I did not hit her. I did not. It is a hilarious movie. But I don't think I could sit down and actually watch it. All the highlights are in the highlight reels. And now I'm just watching the in-between parts that are terrible, but not in a amazing way, is how I envision it in my mind. So I just don't think I'm ever going to watch it.
Just over-the-top weird.
Yeah.
It's amazing, though. It's a beautiful film. Tommy Wiseau knocked it out of the park. But anyways, so with that, if you've seen The Room, this is going to be a lot more funny. So basically a big test, like when my friends kind of get into like new relationships, most of them are all engaged now or married or whatever. But like every time we get into a new relationship, we bring the girlfriend over with the big group of friends and we all watch The Room just to see how the girl reacts. And it's a big test, kind of like, will you fit into this group? Do you find this film, I don't want to say funny, but do you see the beauty in this film? Is kind of like what we use it as. It's like a big test to see that. So that's I just kind of wanted to share that once you played the Oh Hi Mark clip.
I'm just envisioning in my head, by the way, the amount of times that there must have been, somebody that, there's a girl that this guy really likes and you bring her over and she doesn't respond to it. And she's, you guys are laughing and she's just kind of like, I don't get it. And there's just this defeated moment when it's like you got to pull the guy aside and be like, bro, she's not the one. And just crush the guy's dreams. Please tell me that's happened. I don't know why. But first of all, if it's a true test, that's what you got to do. You have to draw the line. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Let's not call it a test if we're not going to actually make it a test that means anything. But I just want to know that at some point that happened. There's probably somebody that was perfect. That would have been a great wife and mother to this young man. And she is now off making somebody else very happy because she didn't like The Room. I don't know. I find it hilarious. I'm down with it. I just figured I'd point that out.
If you haven't seen The Room, watch it or don't. I don't care. It is ridiculous. It won't make any sense to you. It still doesn't make much sense to me, and I've seen it like 10, 15 times. Anyways, so you're also in the same pod. You're talking about the kickers and whatever, and I thought of this like strange analogy. Our fans sometimes, like how they just see a little snippet of what someone can do, and like they ignore all the good stuff that they do, and just see one little bad thing they do, or like they get like a bad taste in their mouth about a player, and they're just done with them. It kind of made me think of like if you give someone a pizza, right, and you say, "Oh, this pizza's really good," and then they pick it up, take a bite of the crust, of just the crust, and then say, "Ugh, this pizza's disgusting." And you're like, well, no, there's a whole other pizza here. Like, there's a lot more to it. Give it a chance. And they're like, no, what you already gave me after the first bite is terrible. And it's just like, you just bit the crust. You just saw the beginning of it. Like, try where all the sauce is. Try where the cheese is. Try where the toppings are. It's like, see the good that can come from it. And so people are so quick to write off Anders Carlson instead of saying, oh, he can be good. He can turn around. He can get better. Like, yeah, anyways, I'm at 3 minutes.
Yes, you are. Well, that happens on the positive and on the negative side. So you've got, obviously, some people get written off. And it's always funny when it happens. There's just a mob of people that just hate somebody. And it's like, why is this happening? I don't really understand. And you kind of understand because it's like, well, it's because they're bad. And it's like, yeah, but so is Kenny. And everybody loves him. He hasn't been good. I'm trying to think of other examples, like guys that just, Samori Toure. Why does everybody love him? And again, it's one of those things where there was just this little glimpse. It was this little thing, and everybody loves them until they're off the team, and then it's then we come to the realization. I will push back a little bit on the analogy though, because although it is kind of silly, and if you try the crust and it's not great, I'd still eat it because it's pizza, and even bad pizza is pizza. It's fine. It's pizza. I could hear like Jersey Mike somewhere just throwing a fit, because I will say, if you eat the crust and the crust sucks, it's not very good pizza. It's just not. I mean, it might be fine, like if you eat the rest of it and you suffer through the crust. But yeah, I mean, if you're eating really good pizza, the whole thing is good. And if I'm eating the crust, it's like this is dog crap. It's just not good pizza. So you're wrong. I'll eat it. I'm not gonna be rude and not eat it, but I'm gonna tell you straight up, you lied to me when you said this is good pizza. Just lied. Maybe it's good cheese. Maybe it's good sauce. Maybe the pepperoni's really on point. The sausage, just those thick chunks of sausage. Maybe that's some money stuff, and we can kind of turn this around a little bit. But if we're ranking pizzas, any pizza with crap crust it's just not gonna be at the top. It's just not. You got to do it right, man. Can't be doing all this non-stuff. There is no such thing as bad pizza crust. My dog's review. Yeah. Also me when I was poor and in college, literally eating my roommate's pizza crust. Just kind of like, he had people sending him money, he had people sending him food, so he had the ability to be bougie about it. He's like, I'm not gonna eat the crust. Like, bro, I'm literally starving. I haven't eaten anything all week except beer. So I could use a couple extra non-beer related carbs, I guess. All right. Did we touch on everything? I don't even remember anymore. This is why you don't do the megathons. Daniel from California, not California.
I know we're in the middle of off-season mode, but I was just thinking, like, shouldn't we just, like, scrap the entire overtime procedure? Like, we always talk about, like, what's best for the game and all this stuff, but why don't we just do what college does? You do a sudden elimination, right? Sudden death overtime, where it's, you get the ball on the 30 and you drive down. What's a 50-yard field goal? And your drive starts at the 40, right? 45, 35. And you get, in regular season, you get three rounds each. And if you guys each go down 3 touchdowns each team, then it's a tie. And if not, if you guys, whoever scores and the other team doesn't match, then they lose. Like, I like that. And then in playoffs and Super Bowl, it's just unlimited until there's a winner. I just think that's just a way better. I like the way college does it. It's very exciting. I don't know. You were talking about the kicker situation, and my mind went running, and not even thinking about kickers. I was just thinking about overtime. But yeah, wouldn't be fun.
Thomas Austin says overtime should just be a designated player on each team playing Madden. Just have like hockey shootouts, Just do something crazy, like the old quarterback competition. Just see which quarterback can launch it the furthest or something. Or like have a dodgeball competition, but it's quarterbacks with footballs. They're just pelting each other. That'd be fun. Nobody likes overtime. It's stupid. So let's have some fun with it. Let's just drag the quarterback, even the backup quarterbacks, which makes that position more important. You want to win overtime, you better get a quarterback that's got some accuracy, got some zip on that ball, and got some good hands. Because if you catch that football, he's out. You know what I mean? Strategy. We're incorporating strategy into the overtime. Let's get weird with it, man. Let's just get crazy. Let's take our first break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan, Craig from Indiana.
Howdy.
Totally agree with your takes on Rodgers and Huey and also people leaving the Packers. And again, we normally get that pretty right. And it does happen. It actually happened to me recently. I got a new boss, and she was wanted to reorganize the department a little differently that didn't play to my strengths, and I wasn't exactly thrilled with that either. But we parted ways, and you always like to leave on your terms, but there's times when, they're going a different direction, and maybe there just isn't a good fit. So, anyway, hopefully, I'll go on to have a good career somewhere else, like a lot of the Packers. I did have a question. What do you think the breakdown will be of touches for our running backs, assuming that is Jacobs and Lloyd and Dillon? I'm kind of thinking maybe around 50% for Jacobs, and I don't know if the other two will split, or if Lloyd will get a few more, maybe 30-20 or something, so 50-30-20. But I know it's hard to say, but if you don't want to guess what you think it'll be, what would you be happy with at this point, knowing what you know, which I know is very little about Lloyd, but just thought I'd throw that out there. All right, have a good one. Bye.
So, probably not going to be the same exact breakdown necessarily, although it might be. But if you look at Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, the attempts, it was 182 to 178. That's 182 for Jones in 13 games, 178 in 15 games for Dillon. You could say that that's very different because we have a rookie now, but at the same time, we also have a first-year veteran who is not Aaron Jones. So you could say, the question really is the gap between Jones and Dillon bigger than the current gap between the number one and number two running backs? I don't necessarily know the answer to that question, so we could look at it as a relatively close to 50-50 split, with Josh Jacobs getting the majority, 55-45 kind of a thing, or it might be more pronounced than that. And who knows if, Dillon, him, actually that's stupid because Dillon's going to be in the mix quite a bit more. So it'll probably be, does anybody have three backs, like prominent guys? I don't think so. Who would be the closest to that? It's going to be a weird thing. Maybe something like this. The Baltimore Ravens have Gus Edwards at 211, and then Justice Hill and Lamar Jackson. Lamar is not a great example, but let's just say it is, at 195. This almost makes sense to me, where maybe Josh Jacobs is the 211. You got Dillon at 100, and you got Marshawn Lloyd at 95. Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know how that would be split up, but it could be something like that, or maybe the three are closer. Maybe two of them are to the top and one of them's a little bit further down, and I don't know who that would be. It's a unique situation. I doubt I'm going to be able to think of anything similar, and then even if I could, would I expect the Packers to do the same thing? The answer would probably be not so much. I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how that all breaks down.
Hey, Ryan. What's going on today? Wanted to call in. I was just thinking a little bit about the Packers organization with Ed policy announcement, which I think is great.
There you go.
Having someone that's in-house that knows.
I'll just pause you here. Sorry, Seth, but Thomas Austin pointed out that the 49ers had a three-headed monster in 2019. And sure enough, you got Raheem with 190, Tevin Coleman at 170, Matt Breida at 132. So let's just say that's kind of the template for what we're looking at. And we'll see if somebody kind of stands out more than that or less than that or whatever.
What the Packers are about. I think we all expected that to happen, so no surprise. But anyways, it got me thinking more about their overall structure. So we've talked, a lot about owner versus no owner. So I don't even want to touch that. I think at least the two of us can agree, and I think most Packer fans can agree that I'm glad we don't have an owner kind of butting into things that he doesn't know anything about, making things happen, forcing bad decisions through, bad contracts through, things like that. But one thing that I think is really interesting, there's a lot of talk about the Packers about how they're unique, especially lately, everyone's talking about the quarterback process again of draft and develop and let him sit. But I think there's way more unique things about our organization than people realize, or at least than people talk about. And that is in a traditional organization, you're going to have an owner. Depending on how involved an owner gets, they might have like a president or CEO that kind of sits above the GM. But a lot of these big name teams have an owner, and then the GM reports to the owner. And then under the GM is whoever the GM needs on his staff for, contract help, player development, player analysis, scouts, all that stuff. But also, most teams' head coach reports to the GM. The Packers have, I'm just going to call it a three-headed monster. They have Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst, and Russ Ball. And I believe they all report to, currently Mark Murphy, soon to be Ed Policy, but they report to the
president.
They report up that way. And so just really interesting thinking about that.
And CEO.
When you look at a typical GM and how they operate, they're thinking about their job. Things don't go well. A lot of them can survive an extra year or two by firing a coach and starting over, which is actually very hard on the team unless it's necessary. Also, a lot of them are in charge of contracts. Now, they may have someone with contract experience under them, but how good are they? How much do they get involved with that? I don't know. And one of the reasons this came to me is when Gutekunst was...
Part 2. Here we go.
Hey, Ryan, sorry. I did not expect this to take more than 3 minutes. I guess just trying to weed through all the thoughts in my head. But anyways, pick up where I left off so I don't go through another 3 minutes. The reason this came to me is when Brian Gutekunst was talking recently in the interview he did, I think it was Cheesehead TV, but talking about how he specifically said, I know Russ is doing a good job with Jordan's agent and working through all that. Almost made it sound like Judy's not involved. Now, I know he is. I know he's there for the relationship side. I know he has to sign off on certain things, but, we have a true guru that we don't talk about enough in Russ Ball that makes these contracts work. He makes it so we can get out of things at the right time. I mean, we've had so much dead money the last 2-3 years, and we've still been totally able to pay the people we want to keep. We're going to pay Jordan Love, no problem. We have Bakhtiari dead money this year. We cut Kenny Clark next year. We'll have dead cap there. We'll see what happens with his contract. But, Russ Ball is a guru, and him being so good and Matt LaFleur reporting directly to Mark Murphy allows Judy to really focus on what he's great at, player development, scouting, and drafting. And I know he still negotiates and all that stuff, but I just think it takes some burden off of him. I also think it frees up Matt LaFleur to not have to do what your GM's telling you out of fear of being fired, because he doesn't report to the GM. So hypothetically, say the GM didn't likes our rookie running back and wants him to play over Josh Jacobs. I know this is like a dumb example, but LaFleur can be like, no, I'm playing Josh Jacobs, or vice versa. No, we're playing the young guy. He's really good. Look, watch. So just gives them freedom to really excel at their jobs and do what's best for the team and not be constrained by the politics that go on in most businesses. So anyways, that a lot of those elements that I mentioned, I think are unique to the Packers, and I think it's a huge thing for us. So hopefully, just give me your thoughts on that. I'm going to stop myself before I ramble for another minute, but thanks for hearing me out. Talk to you later.
Back into my yawning fits. I cannot stop. I haven't really formed a position on this until right this moment, and you've kind of helped me to think through it a little bit in terms of the silos, they call it, where everybody reports to the top as opposed to having more of a ladder or a chain. With Russ Ball and Matt LaFleur reporting to the GM and the GM reporting to whatever. It does make sense for a couple different reasons, one of which you already articulated, which is sort of the separation of powers. There's really no reason, now that you mention it, for a GM to manage a head coach. They're different jobs, and that's how the Packers treat it. They always talk about that, and they're very good about it in terms of Matt saying, who we draft and all that stuff. That's him. We trust him. He does all that. Oh man, I'm fading. He does all that stuff. We don't deal with that, and vice versa. I think a lot of people, especially the other direction, kind of expect the GM to have a lot of say and input on the coaching stuff, and he doesn't. Not only just because of the silos situation, but I mean it's really about respecting the head coach and allowing him to do his job. Because if you don't, he shouldn't have that job. It's the bottom line. We have a GM to do GM stuff. We have a cap guy to do cap stuff. We have a coach to do coaching stuff. And if we feel like something's missing because the GM should be overseeing the coach, then maybe we don't have the right coach. So from that standpoint, I think it makes sense. It creates a situation where you don't have people that are not good at a certain job interfering. You don't have a GM who's not a coach coaching because, I want this player in here or this, that, or the other. The other thing, too, is kind of a unified mission, so to speak. You don't have sort of this like telephone game where it's, Mark Murphy passes down sort of the Packer way down to the GM, and then he passes that down to Russ Ball, which gets trickled down to Matt LaFleur and all these different things. And there's all these filters. It's, Mark Murphy sets the standard, and that goes directly to the GM. It goes directly to Russ Ball. It goes directly to Matt LaFleur. So, I mean, it kind of works both ways. Number one, separating them is good. Number two, having a direct chain up. And then number three, having a direct chain down, I think is a big benefit. And now as I sit here, I can't really think of a good reason not to do it that way. I know the Packers catch a ton of hell for that. I know a lot of fans hate that structure. I haven't really thought about it or, haven't given a ton of thought into the benefits or drawbacks of it. I knew it was kind of a weird thing and just kind of shrugged my shoulders. But as I sit here, I think that actually makes perfect sense. Why don't we take what I think is our final break? I'm not entirely sure, but I am fading. My wife's calling me, and I'm ignoring her call, so I'm racking up some demerits here. Let's take our final break. I think we'll come back and hear from Garrett in Illinois.
Hey, Ryan, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
Chip.
Just trying to get caught up on all the topics that have been dropping lately. Number one, bratwurst.
Yeah.
I grew up in a German family who we raised our own pigs and we slaughtered them, made our own bacon, made our own bratwurst, and been eating them ever since.
Dig it.
So definitely number one in my family. Number two, Jordan Love getting engaged. I find it very ironic because my son has been trying to ask his girlfriend to marry him for like the last month, but everything keeps going wrong when he does. So hopefully he follows suit and finds a way to do it. I know there's no castles in Missouri that he can go to, but maybe he can find some inspiration of what Jordan did and hold things together and tie the knot. But I find it peculiar that
what does that mean exactly? He's been trying, but things keep going wrong. Like she had to go to the hospital or something, or like it was raining that day. I don't know. It makes me nervous the way that you said it. Like he's been trying to get her to marry him, and it just she keeps shooting him down, and he just keeps trying. It's like, well, maybe. I know that's not the situation, but it sounded odd. I would love to have some elaboration. Although maybe it's better to not elaborate, so I can go on my nonsensical tirades and come up with stories that are more interesting than probably reality.
Jordan, he's been dating this girl for quite a while, and I've been wondering, it's like, what's been holding him up getting married and all? So, congratulations, Jordan. And let's see, topic number 3, policy being named the future the president. I'm sorry, almost got ahead of myself. I guess Green Bay takes the same strategy with their quarterbacks as they do with their future presidents. They sit them, let them learn and mature, know the system, then they make them president. Man, it's just a coincidence, isn't it, Ryan? Just something sounds familiar about that.
Yep.
Anyways, it's super hot here in Southern Illinois. It's like,
I mean, this is what is constantly talked about in terms of the Packers doing things the right way. Bottom line. And it's just, this is why the Packers continually are a good team while other teams are not. It's just that simple.
105 today. And just wanted to call in and get caught up. I've been listening to podcasts and they time go by faster. And one of the things that last thing that popped up that I want to hit on is movies that you can watch that are from the 80s. Okay, here we go. Say Anything, John Cusack. Great movie. Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire. Any of those can't go wrong. So just start with the classics. Go from there. I'm out.
Sorry, my daughter was filling me in on everything. Apparently they bumped heads and now we're in concussion protocol, apparently. I don't know, man. I'm just the dad. I just sit here and go, whatever. Yeah, just lay there and you can't watch TV and you can't move. All right. So we got some 80s movies here. I have not seen Say Anything. Pretty in Pink, obviously I know of. I have not seen it. 16 Candles and Breakfast Club I have seen. I'm trying to read this, but the transcription is not super great. It'll be interesting to revisit a couple of these. Because I know I watched quite a few of them, kind of, you got Breakfast Club and 16 Candles and all that. There's a girl that's, I think, in both of those, right? The redheaded girl. Good movies and just kind of rip through them or whatever. I don't know. Especially like Pretty in Pink and stuff. Say Anything, John Cusack. I don't even know what that movie is, but I see John Cusack and you list it next to Pretty in Pink and it's like, I just don't think that's going to be a good movie. I should try one of them though. You recommended it. I have the ability. Let's see. Say Anything. I think that's what you said. John Cusack. Oh, that's the thing. I didn't know that was the name of it. It's one of those things where it's like, I have to watch it. There's a lot of movies I've watched because you just have to watch it. And obviously understanding the reference and not being able to say, yes, of course I've seen that, I need to do. Same with Pretty in Pink. It's just, I don't know why that's a thing with me. I'm sure a lot of people don't care. But have I seen Pretty in Pink? I was thinking of a different movie. Pretty in Pink. Maybe I have seen Pretty in Pink. I don't know. But I tried to Molly Ringwald is her name. I tried to go through all the Spader's in that too. I like James Spader. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Try to go through all the big flicks and all that stuff, the big name, top 100, whatever, because I feel like you can't not have seen it. I'm the exact opposite of my wife in that, by the way. She hasn't seen anything, ever. Oh yeah, every kid on planet Earth watched this in 1994. And my wife's like, nope, never watched it, never heard of it, don't know what you're talking about. And I think these fall into that category, so I should probably watch it. Especially since everybody knows the stupid holding his radio over his head thing, and I just haven't seen it. I don't know. Whatever. All right. Continuing. Seth from Iowa.
Hey, Ryan, it's Seth. I called you earlier. Hopefully I don't get 3 back-to-back here, but if I do, well, it's been a few hours and I had a different topic pop into my head. So this is kind of for you, Clayton, JJ, the whole crew, but maybe just
you got me.
You're the head honcho over there. Some of the podcasts on Spotify now are starting to show the videos. So like they do a YouTube video and they post it, and basically it's the same thing on the podcast. And so just an idea for you guys, that'd be fantastic if when you guys do videos, sometimes you guys do film reviews. Clayton does that a lot. You guys do the Derailed where you show some stuff. Whenever you do like live watch parties. Anyways, I often can't watch live, but I listen to the podcast, and I really enjoy being able to see what it was, what you guys were showing. So I don't know what it takes to do that, but if you could, this guy would appreciate it. Anyways, hope you're having a good one and surviving. It's crazy hot outside here. I'm in Iowa. Anyways, just an idea for you. Talk to you later.
Yeah, it has been pretty hot lately. Today was actually pretty chilly, which was a nice change of pace. We were outside in the blustery wind and rain today, which felt good. Prince Capsaicin says, John Cusack blocked me on Twitter for no apparent reason. Fair enough. The heck are we talking about here? Starting to fade. I almost made a joke about a person that I feel like I'm relating to, but that would upset some people, so I won't. What am I doing? The Spotify thing with the thing. So I guess my biggest confusion is you said, you listen on the podcast, but you can't see it, and you wish you could see it. So my thought, if somebody had said, why don't you put your videos on Spotify, is like, because nobody's on Spotify to watch videos, you watch videos on YouTube. Why wouldn't you watch it on YouTube? Would be my first question, I guess. Obviously, you have access to YouTube. I don't know if it's just like I'm just flipping through like podcasts on Spotify. That's just what I do. And if it happens to have a video that's extra dope, maybe that's the thing. I don't know. But yeah, I'll check that out. I know a long time ago, I was looking into that. There was a ton of, I was kind of on a big crusade about how terrible podcasting is, and there was a ton of like companies coming out trying to do some cool things. They had a lot of cool technology. This is a long time ago. Most of those companies obviously didn't get very far, but I know Spotify was working on a couple different things. Some kind of interactive things. One of them was pretty cool. I don't know if it was Spotify or if it was this other company that I wanted to work with, but I was already tied in with somebody else. But it was very interactive. Like you could have certain things pop up during the show. Like as things are coming up, there would be like quizzes, or there would be question and answer things. You could put up pictures. As it like Pretty in Pink, the Wikipedia or something could pop up or whatever. I thought that was kind of cool. So I don't know what Spotify's doing right now, but yeah, if they have video upload, one of the things that was kind of, I'm always making faces on here. You probably think I'm responding to people, but I was looking at my email, and all of a sudden, I'm getting these emails. Your episode is now live on Spotify, which obviously it always has been. So I don't exactly know what that means. I'll have to look into that. I was trying to figure out what the heck is going on here. I know that they have the ability to like live track the streaming on Spotify. That hasn't been approved, so that must have got approved, but I don't know what that means. But anyways, I guess I got to get over there and see about this video stuff. Because, yeah, I mean, if that would make it more enjoyable for those people, that would be something at least to consider. I don't know. I'll have to look into it and kind of see what's entailed. But I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Obviously, if everybody else is doing it, I would hate to have listeners say, well, Packernet's cool and all, but such and such has video, and I want the video. I tell you what, let's wrap it up. Let's get up out of here. I think I did the breaks right. I'm not entirely sure. My kids apparently are concussed. I can't stop yawning. I can't focus on anything anymore. I've lost everything. My mental capacities for the day. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Appreciate the comment section as always for hanging out, and everybody else that was in here listening. Appreciate the content and all that good stuff. And I will go watch some classic 80s cheesy movies. You guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.